Hello and welcome back to the Weekend Spread, the Scooter Pod's General College Football Podcast. I'm your host, Bobby Howard. With me today, we've got my good friend, Ty Lee, and the captain himself, Boaton Blake. And boys, we're about to continue on a tradition like no other. And, the Sooners may have left the Big 12, but the Schooner Pod's roots, the Schooner Pod, our podcast, the Weekend Spread's roots will always be in the Big 12. And every year since we've done this thing, we've always kind of done a Big 12 preview where we make our predictions for the rankings and all of this. And even though the Sooners are long gone, we still like to talk about it, still like to run the full preview, just like the olden days. So very excited to dive in on this. Blake, for the viewers who don't know, while me and Jameson and sometimes Ty are OU fans, you are not an OU fan. We bring you on to make picks. You are a, as purple as it gets TCU fan. And this conference is yours. You are a staunch defender of the Shield. How has the conference changed in just such a short time between OU and Texas's exit, some of the moves in, and how are you feeling about, another season of this after what was a just truly wild year, without the two?
Yeah, I've always considered the Big 12 kind of a conference of chaos. It was a conference of chaos, but with a predictable result at the end, typically OU winning the conference championship. But it did have its moments. But now take OU out of it, take Texas out of it, or Texas really wasn't a factor towards the end, let's be honest here. But take those ones out of it, and it's just a pure chaos conference. Last year, we had Arizona State, the team picked by the media to be dead last in the conference, had a surprising run to win the conference. Not only that, competed with Texas very hard till the bitter end, showing that this conference still has a lot of good teams in it. I think a lot of people get on this conference because maybe the recruiting's not there. Maybe we're not getting the 5 stars like all the other conferences, but I think it is one full of depth. This one is about, we talked about it last week. I see 7 or 8 teams here that legitimately I could make the case for winning this conference. And it's really taught me the importance too when I was doing these rankings of what are the tiebreakers. Last year was kind of a eye-opener to me that, dang, they're tiebreakers are probably going to be used about every single year in order to determine this conference championship. The importance of those. These teams are so close. I say you could put any 8 combinations of teams and it would honestly be reasonable, but that's not the Weekend Spread way. We have our own top 10s. This is the way we see it as tried true in stone, how we think this is going to finish. So I'm excited for the lively debates to come.
Yeah, usually in previous years, you have a pretty good understanding of where these teams are, or just in the pre-NIL, realignment era of the Big 12, you could kind of debate it because you had some solid ground to stand on. This year, it's really just nitpicking, but we're gonna pick those nits, to our bitter end. Got a shout out to loyal listener Lord King Big Nuts. Thank you for the super chat, and he has to inform us that this just in, TCU is the home of the furries. LOL. Haha, sorry, had to do it. Blake, would you like to address these allegations about your boy Josh Huber? I mean, again,
insane legs that just something that started from a Baylor burner account that people actually took and ran with this and took it as gospel. You would think in the age of AI, oh no, Ty, here goes time. I got sent this in multiple group chats all at once with some very people believing oh no, what happened to Hoover? What are we? It's the most obvious. You can see in the corner, the font is significantly different than anything you've seen on Instagram. It was a bad Photoshop at best, but dang, it's gone national. So I take this as this will be great meme fodder for when we upset all these teams this year. You just lean into the furry bit and just be like, you just got beat by the furry quarterback. I'm ready to do that whenever we upset some of these teams, and not to project. I projected a little last week, but pretty high on the frogs this year. So might be using that meme a lot.
I'm sure you have something to say.
I've got plenty. I've been sitting on this one because I haven't been able to speak yet. But like Bobby said, this podcast, a tradition like none other. We are proudly the only podcast that talks about preseason college football, stuff like that. So we're proud to be, like no others in that regard. And very curious argument from Blake here in defense of his client, arguing that it did not happen. It must have not happened, but also that if you lose to them, then you've lost to the furry quarterback, which seems like a bit like an admission of guilt, perhaps to me. But we'll have to see if we can get Hoover on the stand on the pod to defend himself.
Which is wild. Because doesn't Jaden Ott have a photo with the furries at Berkeley that's like 100% legit, and that hasn't really gone viral?
No. But he's not in the outfit. He's with the furries.
Berkeley. Yeah,
no.
He went to Berkeley. If you're at TCU, you're going out of your way to find.
That's true.
People.
That I admit that is true.
You've just brought proof that he went to class.
It's at the fact that Ott is in the photo, weirdly enough, like exonerates him because he's not in the outfit.
That's true.
The photo that the disputed photo makes it look like Josh Hoover is in one of those outfits. And again,
for all we know, Hoover's in the Ott photo as well.
That's true. It's a recruiting visit. Even though it was a bad photo, Instagram Photoshop, like I'm sure there was a part of you that was analyzing it like there's a Zapruder film or something, just trying to make sure, it's not real.
I will say it is one of those that it's fake, but then everybody else around you keeps flipping out like it's real, and it makes you doubt yourself for a second. It's like, am I 1000% sure that I am correct? I knew I was, but it did have me shaking there for a second.
Lord King Bignut says, if the suit does not fit, you must have quit, Blake? Incredible.
Amen.
Thank you for the super chat, and thank you for the tangent, Lord King Bignuts. That I'm glad we got to get that out of the way early. But let's dive into some of these Big 12 predictions. So we all have ranked our top 10 Big 12 teams. We're going to start from 10 and narrow it all the way up to 1. So number 10, believe it or not, we actually have a consensus on this one. The BYU Cougars land at 10 in our top 10 list here. 2024, they finished, 11-2, 7-2 in the conference. This year, they're projected at an 8.5 win total with key games. Utah at home, they got the Holy War, in Provo, at Iowa State, at Texas Tech, TCU at home, as well as a host of others. Ty, I'll let you kick this one off. Why do you have the Cougars where you do, and what are your thoughts on this? Even with Jake Retzloff, obviously probably have to account for that as well.
Oh no, the mute monster.
Here's my analysis on Retzloff is that one, I cannot believe that I've been accused of being on mute here a second ago. Anyone that's listening, you will hear that was a seamless transition. And that was a cruel and baseless attack by Blake to accuse me of being on mute. But with Retzloff, here's the thing that doesn't worry me. And I mean this with respect, but also as disrespectfully as possible to BYU. When is the last time they've ever had anyone who's been actually that relevant in the preseason? I feel like we're just looking for storylines here. They're a school that's just going to produce a program that's going to produce obviously not the best in the Big 12 by our consensus, but they're going to produce results out there regardless of who is there. And with the chaos that I think we're going to see in the Big 12, I like BYU there. I mean, it's, I guess, bottom half out of 16 teams, but I don't think I would have them any differently if, he had remained. So I don't have a ton on BYU.
Fair enough. It is.
I keep going.
Blake.
Yep. We talked about it a little bit last week when I had over on the BYU win total, but this team, I think, with or without Retzloff, I don't think there's that much of a drop off. Like, I think Retzloff was a good quarterback, but there's significantly better talent in this league at quarterback than Jake Retzlaff, and so I wasn't too concerned when he went away. Sure, they might have some issues back there, but I feel like the one thing Kalani Sitake has shown me, besides his first year in the Big 12, is that he just kind of consistently pumps out winning programs. Like, last year was obviously a big one where you only lose twice. Like, get that, like, that's a great season, but I feel like at their worst they're always going to be 6-6, 7-5 in the Big 12 with a higher ceiling depending on who their big time recruits are coming in. But yeah, they're just going to be stable. I think in a league that has a lot of inconsistencies, a lot of moving parts this year, I kind of know what BYU is going to be. They're going to be a well-disciplined team. They're going to play really well at home, one of the toughest places probably to travel to in the Big 12, and they're just going to use that to their advantage to get to at least 6 or 7 wins. So there's probably some more high upside picks behind them that you could have had kind of for the start of the top 10, but I just think consistency in this league is very rare. I think BYU gives it, so I put them at 10.
Yeah, and I feel like there were a lot of moments last year where, BYU, could have slipped up. They found ways to win, and that's what good teams do. But having to kind of come up with a solution this last minute in this era, it's just a tough go. That's kind of my thoughts on it. I think there was going to be a regression regardless, but tough, kind of tough schedule with, Iowa State and Tech. And then you have some spots to trip up, in Provo. I don't really know. So I'm with you on BYU kind of landing in at 10. Ty, who do you have as your number 9 team?
Make sure I'm off mute here. At number 9, I will now number my list because I've realized that I have not numbered my list, but I have the Kansas Jayhawks at 9 for me.
Yep. Ty has them at 9. I also have the Jayhawks at 9. Blake has them unranked.
Unranked. I think they were they were the team.
It's not super debate. I would kind of argue that 8 through 12 for me, maybe not 12, but 8 through 11 for me certainly is very toss-up territory. So
yeah, I think I had, I told y'all guys, I told y'all this before, but basically use that website where you could go in and select all the games and then it spits out the results. It gave me kind of like the tiebreaker scenarios, how it breaks out. I think Kansas was tied with BYU and just via tiebreaker, BYU got in. I think this Kansas team is pretty talented. I think they do lose a lot. I believe they lost their starting running back, lost some key people on defense, but if Jalen Daniels stays healthy, which is the biggest if, and probably why I'm very fine with them kind of being a little bit on the outside of this. They're a solid team. It's Lance Leipold has really raised the floor of this program. I think their only problem is they've just had inconsistency at the quarterback play that we really haven't gotten to see Jalen Daniels against the elite competition. But yeah, I have no issues with putting them at 9. I think they're one of those more higher ceiling just because if everything clicks and Lance Leipold really has a system going, that offense clicking once again, they'll be pretty good. But yeah, I'm just Jalen Daniels' health bet is just not the business I want to be in. So had him at 11.
Can I just say real quick, Bobby, before you go, shout out to Lance Leipold, probably the most affected by inflation person in the U.S. Took a Kansas team that was constantly 9th in the Big 12 when there were 10 teams and now has the 9th in the Big 12 with 16 teams.
That's pretty funny. Okay, so Kansas last year they go 5-7, kind of made a mad rush to try to make a bowl game, kind of fell short. 4-5 in conference. This year, win total looking at 7. They have some key games here. They bring back the border war against Missouri. A big game in Columbia early. They have to go to Lubbock, play Texas Tech. Kansas State and Iowa State both come to David Booth. A renovated David Booth, by the way. So Kansas back at home, no longer having to do the weird split situation in Kansas City. And that's kind of part of where I'm at is I feel like Leipold, is a really, really good coach. I think last year you had a bit of odd circumstances with splitting time between Sporting Kansas City and Arrowhead. And I think a lot of teams kind of saw the Jayhawks coming this year or last year. I think he's going to do enough to reposition things. The Devin Neal loss, that running back of theirs, is truly honestly, the main reason they're not higher on this, because I do think they have a bounce back year. I think they're a better team than their record showed last year, especially towards the end. But right now I have them about 9. I think that feels about right for Kansas. But I think they get things back on the winning track. Especially for Kansas. I wouldn't be surprised to see them higher, but right now I just think there's more. There are more teams in the Big 12 that I feel like are a little bit more viable to make a jump and be a bit spicy. So, any final thoughts on the Jayhawks before we move on?
No, I wouldn't count on Williams to stay healthy. I have a conspiracy that he's been healthy the whole time and he just pumps his stats in the early season and
Daniels
then sits out the rest. Yeah,
yeah. Little. That's funny.
Same.
Like we've seen him so little that can't even put the name to memory.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Blake, who do you have at your number 9 spot?
So at number 9, I have the Houston Cougars. And so this really, to me, is just a bet on who their head coach is. I think Willie Fritz is a hell of a football coach. We saw it last year where they were surprisingly just very scrappy against good teams. Like they had a win over TCU at TCU and Kansas State. That was pretty impressive. The problem is it's like for the teams they probably could have beaten or were closer in competition to, they just were absolute no-shows. But they upgraded. I think the main thing last year was the offense just blew. It was one of the worst in the FBS, but they made some key upgrades there. They hired an offensive coordinator back from Willie Fritz's Tulane days, who I think is going to bring some familiarity to the program. They signed Connor Wegman out of the portal, the former Texas A&M quarterback, which it seems like a lot of these Texas A&M quarterbacks are doing better outside of College Station than actually there. So I think going to a conference like the Big 12, maybe where the talent on the defensive side is a little lesser from week to week, maybe a little bit more pass-heavy offenses, I think that benefits them. They hit the portal heavy for the line on defense. It's a portal-heavy team, but one that I just trust that Willie Fritz overall is going to that's going to be a play that works there. I just feel like he is a good coach. He was great at Tulane. I think he's going to do a good job at Houston. I think he's kind of revitalized at least some of their donor support. Like I know they've kind of been money whipping this offseason to try to sway to they've been poaching TCU recruits just by money whipping them. So they have a strategy. They seem to have a future. I think it's just a good bet on them. I think 9 they could be probably even a little bit higher, but with the talent they have, the transfers, I just can't rate them much higher. So Cougars right there.
Yeah, I'm also big on Houston. I have him in my number 8 spot. And for me, it's Willie Fritz. I'm a big believer in him as a program builder, as a head coach. And, year 2, obviously, especially in the portal era, you can build and grow. And, Houston is an untapped market. You have that Tillman for Fertitta money, everything you got going on there, like Houston, that is I don't want to call them a sleeping giant because I don't think they are, but they're a feisty program. And, they have, I think, great leadership there. Really like Wegman as a Big 12 quarterback, like probably not the guy at Texas A&M for sure. But at Houston, absolutely. So I think the schedule kind of lines up decently well. You have some tough, games here and there. Obviously, you have to go to Arizona State. You have Texas Tech, TCU at home. But I feel like all things considered, Houston, this is going to be the team that surprises a lot of folks in the Big 12. 4-8 last year, 3-6 in conference play, and a 6.5 win total. I could see this team. This team feels like it's marked for improvement. So I'm with you on the Cougar love. Ty's
not buying into the love.
Ty does not have them ranked. Ty does not have them ranked.
For context, because Blake has not seen my rankings. Bobby had to make the graphic, and for the listeners, if you wonder how I constantly have just the craziest or worst analysis, but continue to win the weekend spread. It's because these guys are just throwing it away for some reason. I don't know their motivations, but I have Houston second to last in the Big 12.
Oh, Jesus. No. They are better than Arizona. They are better than Oklahoma State. They're better than maybe West Virginia. Like, they're better than some.
I thought they were
UCF
better
is
than
bad.
Colorado.
Colorado's, but like, oh my God, no! Arizona is going to be way worse than Colorado.
No,
way
you
worse.
don't know who's going to be coaching Colorado in September.
We don't know that about Arizona. Like, I think Arizona might just fire their coach because they're going to be competitive.
Firing your coach is one thing. Your coach just disappearing is that's a completely different thing.
Yeah, no, I mean, I get it, but Dion, like he'll still be there. You know, like there's still a core there. I think Arizona's just.
It's not like Dion's doing X's and O's. Like, he has hired competent coordinators around him to kind of do all of that. Like, he's more of a Dabo type coach in that sense, where his influence is more about, more culture based. Not really like you need him for the game plan week to week.
Yep. Okay, Blake, who do you have at number 8? I some of this is going to be a little weird. We're not going to be snake drafting it. This is just going to kind of come up as it comes up.
Sounds good. So at the number 8 spot, I have the Cincinnati Bearcats.
You're the only person to rank Cincinnati.
Oh, Jesus! What? Okay.
5-7 last year, 3-6 in conference play, win total of 6. Key games against Nebraska at Arrowhead, at Kansas, Iowa State, at Utah, at TCU.
Oh, Jesus. Okay. Like, I feel like this is the safest pick for a team that is just going to be mid-tier Big 12. They're set up kind of perfectly in that sense. Their defensive line is going to be fantastic. They return Corleone, the all Big 12 defensive tackle that even got all defensive Big 12 last year, even though he was spending most of the season trying to get through blood clots. Like, he's fantastic. They added a whole bunch of transfers on that side of it. I feel confident about the defense. I think Brandon Sorsby is probably the most underrated quarterback in the Big 12. This team constantly last year, the record wasn't great, but I felt like they were overperforming. They were overperforming constantly. Just one of those teams that it's like, the record doesn't reflect, I think, the quality of this team. I think Scott Satterfield, I don't think he's going to be the guy long-term, but I think he has enough veteran talent on this roster to pretty firmly put them they're going to be mid-tier. I don't expect them. They don't really have a high ceiling. They're just a high floor team for me that I know with good quarterback play, good defensive line, they're just going to be at the mid-tier. I feel very confident about this pick. Just like Cincinnati's not going to be bad, but they're not going to be good.
I don't think they're going to be good either, but I think that there's just more juice with some of these other programs. Like I'm not feeling it with Satterfield at all. I'm not feeling
I want to see I can't wait to see the juice. I want to see what juice. Sorsby's good. Sorsby's he is a good Big 12 quarterback. He's probably top half.
Right, but I probably have Cincinnati at 11th, honestly. Like, they're just kind of on the outside looking in. Like, I like the consistency of BYU more. I like, what Leipold has going on with Kansas more. Like Fritz more. I think that's it for me. Is I really just am not buying that head coaching situation, and I feel like I have 3 better head coaches ahead of them. That's kind of where it falls for me. I'm just not buying Cincy.
This is the best team they've had since the Luke Fickell days, since they've been to the college football playoff. And that team was feisty last year, and I think they're better than they were last year. I feel like this is just if I'm going to be right about something in these rankings, it's going to be that they're probably going to be 7th or 8th in the Big 12. That just feels 1,000% right to me. Ty's shaking his head.
I'm shaking my head because you're just running circles around Bobby here. You're playing professional tricks, and you're arguing a completely different argument. You're not arguing for Cincy being 8th. You're just arguing that Cincy is a mid Big 12 team, which cannot be debated. You're not. I don't think you're defending your stance that you're 8th.
It's quite literal. 8 of 16.
Yes, that's and I don't think they could be any higher, and I don't think they could be any lower. That is, that's what I just don't see how they're not a top 10.
I also have them at 11 with Bobby.
Yeah,
for me. But again, like I said, I did say a second ago that 8 through 11. I want to say.
Jesus. So if Ty doesn't have
is
Houston,
fundamentally a toss-up.
Houston,
I would
Cincy,
love to say my number 8 coming up here, because my justification for them is the exact same justification for Blake putting Cincy at 8.
Well, that's perfect
8?
because I actually did have you giving your number 8 next. So
Perfect.
do you want to let her rip?
Yes, as we have established, 8 is the midpoint of the Big 12. And I thought to myself, much like Blake did, who is the most consistently mid team in the Big 12 in the 21st century? Who else could it be but Matt Campbell's Iowa State Cyclones? Give me Iowa State at number 8. And I'm happy to see that I'm not really that far off anyone else. So the less simple discussions are going to occur here in about 2 or 3. But I like Iowa State at 8 for the same reason that Blake likes Cincy at 8, and probably for the same reason that Blake likes Iowa State at 7.
Yeah, Blake has Iowa State at 7. I have the Cyclones at 6. Last year they went 11-3, 7-2 in the conference. Lost in the conference championship, of course, to Arizona State. Their win total this year 7.5. Key games against Kansas State in Ireland, Iowa in Ames, Arizona State in Ames, at TCU, and Kansas in Ames. Blake, I'm the one who's kind of the highest on the Cyclones here. Why are you kind of trending with Ty a little bit lower on Campbell's boys?
Yeah, I see this team get a lot of love in the national media, and I think it's just because Matt Campbell has done a good job there. I think he's raised the floor of that program. But last year they had 20 returning starters coming back. They were the most veteran team, I think, in all of America. Like, Matt Campbell builds these teams so that in 3 years' time, they will have a window that they can compete for the Big 12 championship. They lose a lot of those guys. I think they're only returning 10 starters. I think Rocco Becht is a good quarterback. Like, I joke about him a lot, but I have loved the progression that he's had over the last few years and where he's trending. Like, I think he's really clutch at the end of games. Like, I think he really elevates that program, but I just know I've seen Iowa State do this in the past. It's like when they've been contending for the Big 12 championship, it's usually because they have a very senior laden roster and then they lose everybody. And in a few years' time, they will probably be second or third when we go and do these rankings. But just with the loss of talent, that team, they don't recruit well enough. They develop well, but they don't recruit well enough or do the transfer portal well enough to really keep their team at 2-3 in the Big 12. So that's why 7. I was like, they're better. They're probably better Cincinnati because of better quarterback play, but they just lost too much.
Yeah, I think to me, Iowa State, like the reason why I have them at 6, I feel like the consistency you get from Campbell, like this isn't going to be a banner year for them. This is not going to be a year where they compete for the Big 12, but I think you have enough with Becht. You have enough with, that coaching staff there where, I think they can, cobble some stuff together, especially with a schedule that feels pretty, positive. Your toughest game against Kansas State is on the most neutral of neutral ground you can get. You get Arizona State at home, you get Kansas at home. It's not going to be a perfect season by any means, but I feel like to me, they do enough kind of float around this, middle to like high middle tier. I think they're, I just feel like they're a program that withstands, a lot of turmoil. I don't think they can withstand enough to make a real legitimate run at this, but I feel like 6 feels like a really solid spot. I'm more positive. This is more of a vote of confidence on the program as a whole than this specific team, because they absolutely have stuff to figure out. This is not going to be a peak Iowa State team. I know some in the media are way, way, way positive on the Cyclones. They just need to realize that it takes a little bit for the, Matt Campbell, laser to kind of charge back up again. But I think they're good enough to be about a 6 in this Big 12.
Can I just say for the record, shout out Austin in the chat. Hope you're doing well. If you've listened to the Schooner Pod for more than a couple episodes, you will know that this is, I think, potentially the most positive thing I've ever said about Iowa State. So I would like to argue that I'm being exceedingly loving towards Iowa State.
Iowa State was kind of the original Tennessee for us. It's like kind of how Tennessee fans were a thorn in our side. Iowa State was like the OG one way back in the day of the Scooter Pod.
Yeah. Cyclone Larry would send one jab and get 3 retweets.
Yeah. Having a beef with Cyclone Larry is genuinely something that in the moment we didn't know anything about Cyclone Larry, and maybe he grew into what Cyclone Larry ended up with. But I'm not gonna lie, Ty's analysis of Iowa State being like a CPU of like they do the things right and they wait for you to screw up, like it, people just misinterpreted it. I will defend that. I think his take was actually really good. Well. I thought his take was actually really good. He was just saying they're really disciplined.
The core argument is they're just going to execute perfectly every time. It's just that they're 2 and 3 stars.
Yeah, they're not going to overachieve.
Playing inconsistent 5 stars under Lincoln Riley is where that originated from.
Right, and I mean, I think you're right. Okay,
I don't know.
Next. I don't know.
Thought that maybe Jalen Hurts was better than whoever Iowa State had at the time, which I think was actually Purdy, but
it was Purdy.
At least I have Super Bowl rings now.
No, it was Purdy versus Rattler, Ty. So
okay, that one maybe didn't age so.
Well, hey, they're both probably going to start in the NFL this year, so just sad for the Saints. Anyways, Ty, who do you have? And this is where this gets a little bit spicy because I feel like we're gonna get some really weird ones. And actually, Ty, I'm gonna have you call yours out next. So I'm going to go ahead like after this one. So I'm gonna go ahead and do one for me. My number 7, I have the Baylor Bears. We both have Baylor at 7.
Yeah, what is this? Like, some sort of thing.
No, it gets spicy because Blake has him at 4. And I'm sure
because Blake went there. Blake has a diploma from there.
That is true. He is a Baylor Bear. Baylor went 8-5 last year, which I honestly kind of forget about. 6-3 in the conference. 7 so their win total is 7.5. Really packed schedule. Like this is a wild schedule for Baylor. You have Auburn at home. At SMU, Arizona State at home, Kansas State at home, at TCU, and Utah. So brutal, but you get a lot of them, on the banks of the Brazos. Blake, why are you so high on the Baylor Bears?
Yeah, I think it's Sawyer Robertson plus the returning production that they have. I think they're top 10 in returning production throughout the entire country. This team had a similar, I think, arc to TCU last year where the season started out rough, but they really put things together. Sawyer Robertson came out, showed himself to be probably top 2-3 quarterbacks in the Big 12. And I just think this team's trajectory is up. I thought I was going to get laughed off this podcast for having Baylor at 4, just because I think they're a very popular team to be in Arlington. They're a very popular team to win this entire conference just because they do have that much returning production. But, Dave Aranda, like, do you trust him as a coach? Like, that was probably one of my big question marks why I had him a little bit lower. But damn, 6 is low. Like 6 is low. It's or 7. Sorry, 7. 7 just seems way too low. This team has like huge ceiling potential that I just don't see how y'all have like 6 teams ahead of them, especially like an Iowa State team. Like we're talking about, they're just kind of like steady. It's like, I think Baylor's floor is still a win or 2 better than Iowa State. So this one just seems a little egregious to me. I think Jake Spavital, those boys on the offensive side of the ball, like Baylor can chuck the ball around, and I think they'll have a solid enough defense to hang in there. Like they're going to be competing to get to Arlington. Like I think they're going to be probably a win away. So
I think for me,
why do y'all have them so low?
Yeah,
I think I'd be curious to know, Blake, when because you sent us the Big 12 standings calculator by MRED, which maybe we'll put a link here in the chat or something in a second, if people want to go play around with it, because it's super cool. But I came up with my rankings before, and then I went back through the calculator and just picked who I thought would win each game, and I still ended up with Baylor like 6 or 7-ish. with who I thought was going to win the games. And like when you look at their schedule, they face 3 teams in the Big 12 that are 100% better than them. Obviously, no game in college football is unwinnable. We've all seen that, but ASU for sure better than them. Kansas State for sure better than them. Utah for sure better than them.
I don't know about
Kansas State.
I don't know about Kansas State or Utah. You can make arguments like
Okay,
Baylor. I think has a better.
Kidding. You say that, but then it'll be like you're 2 and 3. So we'll see.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think they're just a team that, for me, unfortunately, they don't get to play the hypotheticals. They have to face these strong teams within the Big 12. And if those games go to the favorites, which I don't think Baylor is the favorite in any of those, and then, maybe a bit of foreshadowing, but I like TCU against Baylor as well. Then they just end up in 7th. I think the Big 12 starts to become very competitive. Like I said, 8 through 11, the bottom is the bottom is junk, but I think 7 through 3 is very competitive. So I don't, Blake and I are kind of far off, but I don't know that I disagree with him. Like if his results ended up being 100% correct at the end of the season, 7 through 3, I could be like, yeah, I see that. Cincy and Houston, inexcusable, but
I just feel like Baylor. I feel like Baylor has had years where we're pretty high on them, and the floor falls out of nowhere. I don't trust Dave Aranda, and ultimately, when I was looking at this list, I know it sounds really dumb, maybe, but there were 6 teams I liked better than Baylor, and when I matched them up against everyone kind of down that line, Baylor got the short end of the stick every time. And, this was not something I didn't go into the MRED calculator and go down all the schedules and stuff. This is just kind of from the hip. And, I think, to me, there's a very, tiers in this conference are very, very hard to separate for me. I could see Baylor going on a run. I just kind of have them on the lower rung of this list overall. And to me, it's kind of more of a no vote of confidence on Dave Aranda at the moment. And I see the points. I really do about returning production. That's massive in college football. I don't know. I'm kind of out on Baylor. That's my thing, is I like who is ahead of them. And there are points at the time when I was going through the list and Baylor was as high as 3, but I kept finding teams I liked better than them, and I bumped them back.
I think the ceiling for this team is really good. I think TCU Baylor this year is going to feed families. I think it's going to be another instant classic of a game.
And I agree. I think the ceiling is very high. I feel like they have a more realistic floor, maybe. But also, who knows? Arizona State won the conference last year, and we picked them last. So, I don't know. That's just kind of where I stand with Baylor. Ty, this is where the podcast gets weird. Who's your number 5
got weird
team?
Already.
Who's your number 5 team?
My 6 or my 5?
No, your number 5. This is what I was talking about before the show, where I'm going to have a twist that sounds really weird, and we just have to roll with it. Who is your number 5? This is not a twist.
I will not defend it, because I will be vindicated, and you guys are going to laugh. You're going to laugh, but you don't know it. All the signs are there. Everything is in front of you. It's going to happen. Deep down, it's going to happen. And when it happens, you're going to be like, I can't believe I fell for that for the 15th time in a row. At number 5, it's so obvious. It's the Oklahoma State Cowboys.
Oklahoma State, Blake and I both don't have OSU on the list. Ty obviously has them at 5. The Cowboys went 3-9 last season, 0-9 in the Big 12. Their win total this year pegged at 5.5. Key games this year: at Oregon, Baylor at home, at Texas Tech, at Kansas, Kansas State, Iowa State, and then of course some other, Big 12 games. Ty, that's a pretty tough. It is by far Mike Gundy's toughest job he's ever had. In terms of trying to figure it out, backs against the wall, literally took a pay cut. Ultimately, to me, I'm kind of with you. OSU has this sort of seesaw situation, where they're bad one year, good the next. I just don't think the roster's there. I don't believe in the quarterbacks. Like I don't believe in. I kind of think Gundy's done. I kind of feel like the sport has passed him by. And you are right. This is typically when Gundy does his best work. I just feel like he's finally got, like 0-9 in conference last year. Like I feel like that team reached a bottom that I don't know how they can recover from.
No,
and I just don't think the talent is there. The talent's just not on this roster. Like the roster got significantly worse from last year to this year, and last year's was like a horrible OSU team. They did the double coordinator switch. We went over this last week. I don't like the hires. I do not like hiring Doug Meacham as your offensive coordinator. That was a guy at TCU we tried to run out for years, and we just could not. Gary would not get rid of him, and we eventually he took a demotion to stay at TCU to be the wide receivers coach. Like, this guy doesn't have that winning mentality. Doesn't really, I feel like, want to bet on himself. I do like Haas Haney. That's the only part I like about OSU. He's a fast guy, but I don't see, after seeing how Gundy has managed his quarterbacks for the last year, I don't even know if he's going to have a true starting quarterback. And I just think it's going to lead to inconsistencies. It's going to be a lot of herky-jerky stuff where he's just pulling guys at whim to try to make something work, and it just doesn't. I think it's going to be really bad. I just think it's going to end up bad this year.
And we talk about the reasons why we were so excited for Baylor, or why you were so excited for Baylor this year. And I'm not saying those are bad reasons to be excited for Baylor, but one of the reasons why we were excited about Oklahoma State was the amount of returning production they had last year. The amount of, starters and stars. You have Alan Bowman coming back. You have Ollie Gordon coming back, and it imploded. By all means, you would think it would be a consistent, normal football team at the very most, and they went 0-9 in conference play. So maybe to some degree, if you're recycling things, you're resetting things, getting new blood in, I could see that, but I just don't think there's enough of it. I just really do not buy where this program's going. And to me, I feel like this is just not going to end up well for Oklahoma State in this era. I just don't.
No one should have thought that an Alan Bowman led team would be good.
But but an Alan Bowman led OSU team was, a game away, hypothetically a game away from winning the Big 12 championship. They had no shot against that Texas team. All
I'm saying is, this is when Mike Gundy goes to work. It's when he locks in. There's two times that Mike Gundy locks in. And one is a Friday night at 1:30 in the morning, and he pulls those keys out of his pocket. And the other is right now, when his back's against the wall. He's going to, this is a guy that convinced the world. There were hundreds of thousands of people who legitimately believed that Ollie Gordon was robbed of a Heisman, because you could give him 50 carries per game and he would average 10 more yards than the next dude who was carrying it 15 times per game. This is a guy that convinced people, to include the NFL for multiple years, that Mason Rudolph could read, let alone be a starting quarterback. It's this is the magic that he cooks up when his back is against the wall. He is that little dog with the contract in his mouth, and you're not going to get it from him. You think you got him cornered. He's about to run through your legs, and he's about to swallow it before you can get to it. And then he's going to run around and just continue. He's going to cook something up. I'm not going to say he's not going to win the Big 12, but they go to Oregon. Doesn't matter, other than that's the toughest team on their schedule. It's not going to affect their Big 12 at all. They probably get smoked. That is good. The crazy environment, crazy talent that they're going to face there, that is good for them. I think they beat Baylor. Tech, we'll see, but I like them against Tech. Tech will drop random games. I like him against Kansas, obviously, based on my ranking. K-State, I don't think they won that one, but it doesn't really matter. And then Iowa State, when I played around with it in the calculator, kind of didn't matter that much either. So I like him at 5. I don't know. It's right. This is obviously let's take a wild swing at a ball here. You probably shouldn't swing at this one, but I just feel like it can hit. It's you're at the roulette wheel, and the dealer just told you that green hasn't hit, in like 2 weeks or something, and you just got that itch to throw it on green.
Yeah, and I mean,
low
ultimately,
risk.
nobody remembers this podcast, anyways. We don't go back and look at the rankings, I don't think. So
This is true. It's unfortunate
This
because
this one will be memorable enough that I'll
I've been
remember
very
this pick.
correct on many things on this pod. It's for 12 months. I warned everyone that Colorado was going to go smoke TCU to start their season, and no one listened. But
that's funny. That's true. That's true.
North Carolina's not going to repeat that, Blake. So you can rest easy.
I have OSU closer to last than Ty has them to first. Like, I think this team's dreadful. I just think they're one of those teams that each and every week I just had basically losing, besides like Arizona.
It's a brutal slate. They're gonna need some Gundy magic for sure. And I think you do have the core of an OSU at 5. It's because Gundy did some weird stuff, and I think that's
if he gets desperate enough, and because they're in a different conference, and you get, they start out getting smoked by Oregon, and then maybe Kale has to come in and take a temporary position there as the OC. I think that team becomes a Big 12 title contender. So,
oh wow. Okay.
I would be worried about them in UT Martin. They love to F around with like their FCS opponents and all their other random ones. Like even in years where they're good, they're always like struggling at home against Tulsa, like trying to drive. Like
UT Martin on the first Thursday of the season, like which is funny because last year their best performance was against South Dakota State. They smoked the Jackrabbits. And it was like, oh, okay, they actually finally have their stuff together. And then
it does need to be said that it is more likely that Oklahoma State beats Oregon and then gets smoked by UT Martin than it is that they end up 5th in the Big 12. And them beating Oregon and then getting smoked by like a D3 school or whatever would not be shocking at all. And then they deny it. They would just exclude that loss at the end of the
Oregon,
season record.
Lose to Tulsa at home.
Yeah.
Like, this team wasn't a world beater last year, but they beat Arkansas somehow. I still don't know. Like, they came back from like... Yeah, they did.
No, they did not beat Arkansas. They almost beat Arkansas.
No, they beat Arkansas, dude.
Did they actually? They didn't actually, did they?
Yes, they came back. It was the miraculous comeback.
Oh, God. I remember that now. Yeah. Because, I remember that now. Yeah,
it doesn't make sense.
That's right. I remember this now. I have them flipped in my. I have them flipped in my brain because I remember being surprised by the result, because it was. I think it was that I pegged Arkansas to win that game and to cover, and they failed to cover at the very, very end. I remember that now. Yep.
It's just
damn it. Weird team last year. Let's move on from the Pokes though. Blake, who do you have at number 6?
I believe I have the Texas Tech Red Raiders at number 6.
All right. Blake has Texas Tech at number 6. Both Ty and I have them at number 4.
God, Cactus Gang's gonna be mad regardless. Like, I knew I put them low, but Jesus, like, they think they are for sure the number 1 team in the conference, the way they be talking. But let me just remind you, like, this is the constant about Texas Tech. They always feel so great about their team. They convince somehow the national media to kind of buy into them as this, like, Cinderella underdog story that's like, actually, they're the sneaky ones to win the Big 12, and then they go 8-4 in conference. Texas Tech this is a boomer bust year for them. Like, they have thrown so much money at the portal this year. They got the second best portal class in all the nation. They're throwing money at 5 stars like no other right now. They're paying like what some teams are saying, like 25%, 30% more than the highest offer just to get them to Lubbock because nobody wants to go there. But they're money whipping more than any school in America. And I think this is just setting up for a 9-3 season for them. Like, that is where I have it. It's 9-3, but because of all the tiebreakers, when I ran it, they position so far back. I just don't, there's so many things I don't trust about this roster. I don't care about the talent. Like, they got a lot of transfers, but that's where it starts. You have a lot of transfers. You're having all these mercenaries come in and you're trying to scrap together a team that is somehow going to become a contender, even though you have a lot of issues closing out games. I don't think Joey Maguire is trustworthy. This guy, came in at Texas Tech and was heralded as such a good coach because he was making all these great fourth down decisions. He was doing the analytical plays whenever it comes to all these things. And then because some didn't work out that year, he just like totally switched last year. Like, he was analytically playing a good game and then just started to go off of vibes and was totally blowing games at the end, last year. And then go down to to win this league, you have to have a good quarterback. You will have to have a good quarterback, and you pay all this money in the transfer portal just to keep Baron Morton, a guy made out of a glass, as your quarterback. This guy cannot stay in games. He is not consistent enough to lead you to a Big 12 championship. I don't get the hype around Texas Tech. I don't. I see the money that they're throwing around. I see the recruits that they're getting, but this coaching staff has proven that I don't think they're that much better than the last one. They've shown that they can't have consistent quarterback play because there's always, for some reason, they always have that position hurt, and it's just the pressure is too much that this team is going to crack. Like, there is a few fundamental truths about this world, and 8-4, 9-3 Texas Tech is one of them. So there's no way this team wins, goes 9-3, and they fire they fire their head coach at the end of the season.
Whoa.
Like, yes,
well,
no,
the Maguire thing is honestly as shocking as any of it.
No, I think they have to win 10 games for him to save his job. Like, that is how much they've hyped it. They've hyped it up that much.
Whoa! Oh my God, what is going on in Lubbock? Ty, I will get to you in a moment. I'm sorry. Here's my thing with Tech is what they're doing is they think they're Texas with how much they're paying, but really what they're going to end up being is Texas A&M. You know, like they're going to pour all that money in, but especially circumstances this year, that's a tough stretch with their key games. So they have to go at Utah, they have to go at Arizona State, they have to go at K-State. To me, that just feels like you're just doing all of this to go 8-4, 9-3, like max. And I just don't see Tech being stable enough to really be in that top tier. And we'll see how it all dodges out. Because I think they'll be a good team. I just don't think they'll be. I just feel like the luck of the draw might have given them a bad hand, and they're not quite ready to compete yet on that level. I think they'll be just an ounce behind, but firing Maguire would be wow.
I think that his seat is so warm if this does not go well this season. Like, they have such a short leash with the amount of money that they're paying this upcoming recruiting class. Like, they need a guy that can win there and like win immediately. And they've shown to be a fan base that is pretty fickle. Like, they fired Matt Wells like way too early.
Yeah, I get that. Wells wasn't going to get them to where they wanted to be. But yeah, the more and more you talk about it, and the more I think about it, I can see it. I can see him going big game hunting after this. So, Ty, I'm so sorry. You've been meaning to get in on this one. I'll pass it to you.
I was chomping at the bit when Blake mentioned that they hired their coach. Obviously, there's much more nuance to this. I understand this. Blake understands this. Everyone understands this. But when you mentioned that they hired their coach because he was really good at fourth down decisions, is kind of like marrying someone because they've had a lot of amicable divorces. It's like, if you really think about it for a second, that's probably not the best methodology to hire a coach. Like, yeah, he makes a lot of really good decisions on fourth down. Why is he in fourth down so much? But I do have to ask how it is for them to go 9-3 or even 8-4. How I don't think it's mathematically possible for them to be sixth in the Big 12. Like,
it is.
If they go 9, how in the world can they go 9-3 and end up with 5 teams ahead of them? There is no way that works.
The way in which my rankings went out is 4 through 7 had the same record at 6-3, And then basically your conference opponent win percentage plays a huge factor into this. And they just have one of the lower ones, like whenever it's all said and done. And the
How do
teams
they
that,
have a lower one if their key games are Utah, Arizona State, and Kansas State?
but then they lose to those teams.
Yes, but
Like,
I
that's
also
what-
could have added more, but I was a little bit lazy and ran out of time.
But
so
I can send you I can
guess
send you the screenshot of the
if it's
explanation. But
if it's weighing wins more, I guess. But I
Yeah.
still feel like that's a improbable at best. I feel like that's potential deliberate misinformation. I feel like you're borderline bot farm behavior.
no, I
Well,
put the
like-
results in there, and this is the results of what I chose, and this is how it ended up. Because it deals with conference wins percentage, and then they also do like these weird round robin scenarios and stuff like that, and they would lose out on it, I think, to like K-State and Iowa State. There's about 5 different tiebreakers that came into them being at this position.
Yeah, I think we really forget how just insane the end of the Big 12 year was last year when
Yes.
it came to that championship race. It was like seriously, like entering like the last week or last 2 weeks, there were 6 teams that could have made the conference championship. It was nuts.
This is why this website even got popular in the first place, is nobody could figure out the tiebreakers of like
The year
what the
before.
actual results. Yeah. Oh yes, the year before.
Yeah, we had a whole sellout
was-
crowd
yes.
piece on it. Eli Letterman interviewed him. I remember it very well. Shout out to Imred. But yeah, no, it's wonky. I just kind of feel like Texas Tech gets a short end of the stick on this one. Let's move on to our next one. And sorry. I'll go ahead and do my number 5. So
If y'all's 5 is at my 6, I'm very alarmed that my 6 is unranked for you guys. I don't want to interrupt.
who is your number 6? Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. This will be fun. So my number 5, I understand that they're a consistent program. They have been, but last year was just so weird and their coach is so old that I'm not fully set on them being back, but I think they'll be in the mix. I'm going to go with the Utah Utes. Last year, 5-7, 2-7 in conference play. I know I'm very low on this because I have Utah at 5. Ty and Blake both have them at 3. They're 5-7 conference, 5-7 overall, 2-7 conference play. They have a win total of 7.5. They have some brutal key games with Texas Tech, Arizona State, BYU, at Baylor, Kansas State. They get them at Rice-Eccles. They get them in Salt Lake. I could see them going a little higher than this. I'm kind of taking a middle ground approach to Utah. You know, obviously the Rising thing, him going away, like I think that helps having some time to prepare and figure out that next chapter and everything. I don't know. I just kind of want to see it. I know they'll be consistently good enough to be in this top half. I'm just not bought in on them being top 3, top 2 level. I have them right at 5. I could definitely see them jumping. I think this is a floor prediction for Utah, but that's kind of where I have them. So that's my thoughts on the Utes. Why do you, Blake? Why do you like Utah at 3?
Yeah, I hate this one. Like, I knew with the combination of Baylor, Utah, Tech, all kind of being good this year, one of them was going to have to rise to a point where I kind of got to glaze them a little bit. And this part really sucks for me. But
You don't
why
have to blaze them.
you do, but when you have them at number 3, and like when I say number 3, they lost out to my number 2 team based on a tiebreaker, and so like they have the same record. Like I am very high on Utah this year. I think last year's implosion overshadowed that they were still doing some things well. I think that defense is still fantastic. I think Kyle Whittingham, that's the one thing he knows how to do is like if his team show up, they're going to play good defense. It was just the problem is they had really bad quarterback play after Rising went down, and we kind of could have seen that coming. Like they should have done a better job at backfilling that position because he had so many injury struggles. But they did the OU move. They got Jason Beck from New Mexico, who ran like a nice, good, heavy run offense, used a lot of misdirection and stuff like that, and then brought in a quarterback that I really love that I think is going to be one that's underrated this year in Devin Dampierre. Like, I think he is going to be a fantastic quarterback because of his just ability to run. To not glaze them fully. The problem with Devin Dampierre that everybody is saying is he really needs to work on his throwing, which is always a scary part as a quarterback, but he ran for over 1,000 yards last year at New Mexico as a quarterback. And that's like, I forget how impressive that is in college whenever you're counting sacks and all the other things as rushing yards. So to get that amount of production is insane. So I like the combination. I like the moves that they brought in on coordinators here. Kyle Whittingham, it does worry me. It seems like a foot's out the door. Like this could feel like a year away. Like this could be a Gundy type season, I guess, last year in the sense that it's like, oof, like this guy is really just checked out and like really just wants to retire. But yeah, I think they're just going to be fantastic on both sides of the ball.
When you're putting out the Michael Jordan, I'm back facts, thing, like that's what I'm getting really concerned. Like if you have to announce that you're coming back, ugh.
And he already has they already have the succession plan like in place. Like I don't like in place at Utah, which I don't like either. Like I just don't. Those usually do not work out.
It always turns on a dime. Look at Mac Mac Brown with his succession plan with who was it? It was a defensive coordinator. Will Muschamp was going to be the heir apparent at Texas, and like the second you do the heir apparent, your clock's ticking. Like I don't like that.
Yeah, it doesn't. We see this across college sports. I feel like it's more prominent in college basketball, and really only one of them has worked out so far with John Shire and Duke. The rest of them, like Hubert Davis,
and it's Duke. Like.
And it's Duke. Yeah, it's like we've seen it at Villanova as well, and it's not working out. It's just it never works out when the guy it turns out you want to hire people that are ambitious and want to go out into the world and show that they are great coaches and that you should hire them, not just sitting at a program for like 10 years, just like waiting for it to be their time. It just turns out like the really successful coaches just don't wait around in coordinator roles. They actually go out and try to be a head coach and like put their like livelihood on the line that it could go really bad.
Yeah. Ty, what do you like Utah?
I don't. This is what I'm saying with Blake. You don't have to glaze them. They just end up there. They always produce a consistent product. They produce a really good, I think, in terms of producing results, team culture. They recruit well. One thing that does worry me, like Blake mentioned, their quarterback situation. When you replace a guy who has been there for like 20 years, it's kind of like the Pats, leaving Brady situation. But the other thing that worries me is taking on a quarterback that's known for running. There needs to be like a little like acknowledgement in parentheses or whatever about rushing yards when you're at higher elevation, because as you know, like the air is thinner, so you're dealing with less a drag from the air molecules around you. So at New Mexico, their home stadium is about 5,300 feet, so over a mile, which is 5,280. Utah, surprisingly, is about 1,000 feet lower at Rice Eccles, 900 something, but we'll say 1,000 because it's a more fun number to say. So that does concern me that he will not rush for as many yards, because he's not used to attaining those speeds lower to the ground. So, lower to sea level. Obviously, he's on the ground either way, but that does concern me. But I have him as a solid 3. I think they're going to beat up on Tech. They're going to beat up on BYU. They're going to beat up on Baylor. They're going to beat up on Kansas because Kansas's quarterback is, of course, going to be faking a lower back injury at that point. So,
All right, Ty, who do you have at number 6?
At number 6, I have it. Well, I
hope I did not.
I hope I did not see that team pop up at 2.
I'm a little itchy on the trigger finger.
Blake,
I apologize.
Blake can maybe have
Bobby
I saw him. I saw him pop up for Blake. I didn't see where they were, but
go ahead and tell
us
who.
I'm now comforted that my beloved Texas Christian Horned Frogs are not unranked with with Froggy Blake. Oh my god. This is why I smoked you guys on the weekend spread last year. What are you doing? I thought they were going to be unranked.
They were not unranked. They were 9-4 last year, 6-3.
Last year. Oh yes, because as we know, past performance is always indicative of.
It never does. I totally get that, but unranked level bad. Like with the amount of people they have coming back. It's okay.
Just because you recognize the names that are coming back doesn't mean that that's a good thing.
I like their coach. I feel like they have some consistency going in the program. Like I feel like they're trending up. For those listening over audio, so Ty has them 6. I have them 3, and Blake has them 2, which is not shocking. Blake, so preach the gospel of the Frogs to us all here. Let us know why we're why you have TCU so high, and your thoughts on this.
I think
this is a homer pick.
Oh, a little bit, but it's like
I have a victory.
Like I think there is some rationale behind it. It's for sure going to be one of the most, I think probably the most elite offense in the Big 12. The passing game is just insane. Like Josh Hoover, I think is going to end up being the best quarterback in the Big 12. I think he's going to be better than Sam Leavitt. I think Sam Leavitt's the only one that will come close to him. But the progression I've seen year to year with him, and last year being his first year as a full-time starter, he looks legit. There is a reason why Tennessee is coming out that when Nico transfers, the first call they have is Josh Hoover trying to get them in their system, trying to pay him $1 million more than what TCU is saying, and he's saying no. He believes in the situation that he's in. He believes in this coaching staff, and I think this offense is just going to be firing on all guns when it comes on the offensive side of the ball. I think the wide receiver room, although TCU lost a lot, you lose Jack Besh, you lose Savion Williams, you lose JP Richardson. Like those were some clutch key guys that offered very unique parts of the pass game. I think with Eric McAllister and Jordan Dwyer, you get some insane, just like over the top speed and big play threats, which I feel like is kind of a staple of the elite TCU teams. And it feels like this is starting to be a culmination of everything that the last 2 years we've kind of been a little bit murky. There's been a lot of question marks. And really I come into this year and I'm like, my question mark is the defense going to take just another step up? And is the running game just going to be just actually a factor? It doesn't have to be the best thing. Like we're always going to pass, but last year was an absolute non-factor. It took us putting our wide receiver as a wildcat quarterback in order to move the ball while running it. But I'm very high on this team just because I know the talent over the last 5 years, 6 years in the Big 12. Like Tech is going to start beating us in the recruiting battle, but TCU recruits as probably the best team in the Big 12 over the last few years. I think Sonny Dykes is still a good coach. I believe in him. I probably has a reasonable ranking because like I could see TCU's floor and ceiling are very far apart. Like the elephant in the room is like the reason why I would have them lower. If I wasn't a TCU fan, probably is their schedule is like very hard. It's probably the hardest in the Big 12 when it comes to like the actual Big 12 opponents they have to play. Even like some of their easier ones like West Virginia, BYU, Houston, you're playing those all on the road, and those teams have a pulse. Like we don't really have on the schedule like your Arizonas, your OSUs, your UCF, some of those that I think are just going to be like just absolute dead programs. So I'm very high on this team. This feels like a culmination of just like the few bits of positive things I've been seeing last year, the way the team rallied. It's similar to kind of like Baylor, but I just think we're a higher ceiling Baylor. So yeah, that's why I have TCU at 2.
I think there's a level of consistency from year to year that I like. And like you said, that schedule is a bear. But no, I got the Frogs at 3. Blake, who do you have at 5?
So I have this one. I think is going to make me sick because whenever you revealed who was 3, I know Homer Bobby what he put in,
Homer.
but it's become a Homer pick at this point. You're kind of a sleeper agent for them. Number 5 is the Kansas State Wildcats. Yeah,
How
Bobby. Yeah, see, every year, every time we
Oh.
do this podcast, Bobby is always. It's going to be the Chris Kleiman show. It's going to be. We're just going to talk about how good and consistent
No,
K-State
it's-
is. We've done these rankings before. But
No,
I'll let y'all-
I gotta say it, Blake. I gotta say it. He does this not to defend Chris Kleiman. He does this to try to fluff up Brent Venables' fraudulent resume
Oh my
and
god.
try to make him seem like a viable head coaching candidate anywhere, at any sport, at any level. He couldn't be coaching at the YMCA if we evaluated
God.
the subjective.
Oh my
I don't know if
God.
they
Oh my
have
God.
football teams over there, but
No, so at Kansas State number 1. Ty has Colorado number 1. I have Kansas State number 1. Ty has Kansas State number 2. Which, by the way, you're talking the most mess, and you have them second. Blake has them 5th.
That was an anti-Brent Venables take. That was not an anti.
I know, but to be fair, most of your anti-Brent Venables takes don't come off as such somehow. But Kansas State.
I'll just start posting game results.
Tennessee. Yeah, exactly. They always involve other things, and people think about the other thing instead of Brent Venables. But last year,
shout out Tennessee fans for misunderstanding.
SEC power rankings next week. K-State last year 9-4, 5-4 in conference. They went 8-5, 8.5 is their win total this year. Key games against Iowa State in Ireland. You have at Baylor, TCU at home, Texas Tech at home, and at Utah. So one thing I've said about this entire conference and what I've kind of been writing on this entire way is consistency. And I feel like what Kleiman and Kansas State has this year is consistency. They were let down last year. I had them very high last year. I feel like they dropped some pretty big games and some pretty big moments. But at the same time, I feel like they're going to get it right. Another year under Avery Johnson, under center. To me, I just feel like they're the most consistent team in the Big 12. I think they have the most return, just from what I feel like year to year. I think Kansas State's going to come back strong. I think they're going to win the Big 12. That's my call. I also could be very wrong. I've been very wrong on Kansas State in the past. I think every time I've been big on Kansas State, they've been awful. And every time I've been low on Kansas State, they win the damn thing. So take that with a grain of salt. Take that how you will take it. But to me, I'm betting on consistency here, and I'm going to go with Kansas State number 1.
Yeah, I don't trust Avery Johnson. I'm just gonna say it. I saw what I saw last year, and I thought Avery Johnson, I knew he was going to be a super polished passer, but I felt very confident that Kansas State was going to be very good because he could still scramble. He was still going to be an elite level athlete, and in that way, and all I saw was just indecision. I felt like a lot. He never really took over a game with his legs. He would use it a little bit, but they didn't want to feature it too much. It felt like they were just calling plays to try to make him a passer when they weren't actually utilizing his strengths whenever they were struggling. I just feel like they're they're middle of the road good. So the thing about K-State is they're consistent. They seem to always have good returning protection. They seem to have a lot of veterans on their team. It seems like they're always going to be good. But the problem is I just feel like they're like a bond. They're not a stock. They're just stable. You know what you're going to get out of them. You know what that return's going to be. They're really not going to fall too far. They're not going to really, in my mind, rise too high anymore. It just feels like every single year you bake in about 3 losses for them. if not more. And so I just could not get him to the point with the brutal schedule and just like I just don't like Avery Johnson. Like I have him kind of in that middle tier. I think just like of those like good teams where they have 3 losses, they shake out because of all the tiebreakers being where they're at. So like I don't think they're going to be bad per se, but I don't see them making the conference championship nor winning the conference. I just don't think they're that elite. I just don't think they have that ceiling.
Let me say real quick, I did joke around, but obviously at 2, I have them going to the conference championship. And if you ask me to pick that game right now, I think it's probably a 1-score game. So I very high on Kansas State, and in college football, anything can happen. So I would not be surprised if Kansas State wins the conference. They have a tremendous program over there that is going to continue to produce, I think, perennial top 5 results in the conference, and they're going to get a lot of conference championships in the decade to come. So I have them at 2 right now, but bit of a homer take for me at 1.
Yeah, no, it's all good. And let's go with that number 1. So this is Blake's number 1. It's Ty's number 1, and my number 2. It is the Arizona State Sun Devils. Last year, the Big 12 champion, 11-3, 7-2 in conference. Their win total this year, 8-5. Key games at Mississippi State, at Baylor. I don't know why I put Mississippi State on there. At Baylor, TCU at home, at Utah, and at Iowa State. So tricky year for the Sun Devils. Obviously, no Cam Scatterbo, but as we've talked about quite a bit, Sam Leavitt returns at quarterback. Obviously, a lot to be excited about with this program going forward. Blake, what are your thoughts on Arizona State? Why do you have them at number 1?
Yeah, they're just the one I feel safest about. I feel like they have high ceiling and high floor. I think that's pretty indicative of the fact that we all have them in some capacity in Arlington, that we feel confident that they're going to go through this season and do pretty well. Sam Leavitt is one of the best quarterbacks in the nation. Like, I think he's really good, and I saw a lot from him. Like, he started off, I felt like a little bit shaky, but that game against Texas, like, even if the stats don't look pretty sometimes, he just is like he's a big gamer. Like, he could just go in there and I feel like win games. Just like his dual threat nature is like perfect for modern college football. Like, he could still tuck it and run, but damn, that dude can sling the ball. I really like Jordan Tyson, their star wide receiver. I think they're going to have to rely on that more. It was like last year was the Cam Scatterbo show, and they were able to really lean on him to get consistent offense. And like kind of the underrated part of his game, I think, is the pass catching ability coming out of there. Like, that was super big for Arizona State. But I think with these guys maturing a year, I think Kenny Dillingham is like the best coach, or one of the best coaches now in America. I just feel like he's getting the most out of his guys everywhere he goes. Like, I remember when they hired him away from Oregon, I was like, this hire excites me because it seems like everybody wants to play for this guy. It seems like every press conference he's winning it. He's motivating his team. Like, even when he's calling them out, like, I just feel like this guy is perfect for modern day college football and Arizona State, like finally tapping into a good market of football talent from Arizona and California to stay home, hopefully, and just like go to an absolutely gorgeous campus. Yeah, there's nothing I hate about Arizona State. And that's why it's like, I can't be cute and not put them at least at 1 or 2, just because there's a lot I can like for sure they could surprise us and not make it, but I still feel pretty confident that Arizona State will be probably a ranked team throughout the entire year, even if they don't make the Big 12 championship. So,
yeah, I'm obviously very high on them. I have them number 2. Thought about putting them 1, but to me, it's that meteoric rise of going from 16 to winning, like predicted 16 in the media poll, to winning the conference. Like, I am all bought in on the Kenny Dillingham experience, what he has going on in Tempe, what he has going on with all of that. I want to see it again. I want to see year 2 or the next year of this, the next step of this. And maybe honestly, I'm probably overvaluing the, Cam Scatterbo, because Leavitt, another year of him, he was a true freshman last year, right, Blake?
Think so, yeah. Let me,
He was
or
either a
maybe
true-
not, because he might be draft eligible this year.
Oh, I thought he was like a true freshman or a redshirt. I remember him being super young.
Levitt.
Yeah, Sam Levitt, the quarterback.
I was like, Scadaboo is absolutely not.
No, Scadaboo is not in the he is in the league. But my thought on it is, they have a lot of positive things. I think they're going to be towards the top of that rung. I just need to see them do it again when they're the hunted, not really the hunter, not this sneaky team. And Arizona State, like, obviously a great run. You saw them against Texas. What they did there, pushed them to the brink. They had moments last season where, like most teams in the Big 12, where they looked pretty vulnerable. They were in a bit of a dogfight with Texas State at one point in the non-conference. They lost to Texas Tech. They lost to Cincinnati. And this is not to denigrate them. They just, had a couple weird little trip ups here where I kind of want to see them run it back. And that's why I have them at 2. I don't know. For me, I think they're exciting. I'm buying all the stock in what Dillingham's program has, going for it. But I'm trending Kansas State just for consistency. Again, we could be very wrong, and Oklahoma State could win the damn thing. Who knows? But this is my prudent pick. Gonna scoot Kansas State number 1. Ty? Yeah, Ty, you're closer to this program than anyone, just in terms of geography.
I will say, right? I chose to live out here. I think it's like another world. It's absolutely gorgeous out here. It's like being on a different planet. But the idea that ASU has a gorgeous campus is...
Or it's more gorgeous, not campus, maybe. It's a good area to be in. I think being close to Scottsdale is awesome. I find that attractive as a...
ASU's like coolest looking part of their campus, besides the little butte that you can get on that you see with a big A on it that overlooks the stadium, is they have like 24 palm trees on like one little walking area. It's all of the buildings are not necessarily notable. It's not really a pretty campus, but yeah, it's definitely a cool area.
There's much worse places to go to school than ASU. I will say that. That's more of what I'm going at. As a quarterback that is making millions and millions of dollars on a party-heavy campus, I feel like that's a pretty great life right there.
I don't know. We could do a whole podcast on this, because I would argue that on this campus, it's a non-factor. You're kind of wasting all of that, because there's so many other people around that have so much more money, and everyone's getting the same action you are. So you're kind of, it's not like you're at like Michigan where you're the king of the castle. But
those people might also be donating to Arizona State.
You have a chair, but but this is a bit of a homer take for me. Back to the actual analysis, like I said, had kind of ASU and Kansas State as a toss-up. Went with vibes, honestly, for my pick. That was kind of my tiebreaker thing. I know Blake likes to use the actual calculator and the analysis and everything else, but for me, I think, like I said, ASU versus Kansas State, I'm pretty confident in that for the conference championship. I think it's probably a 1-score game, but I just like ASU on the vibes a little bit more. I love what Kenny Dillingham is doing. I think this is not to be negative towards Arizona State, but if you're not a major player in college football, I think the type of program that he is building there is going to be the type that is successful going forward in the NIL and portal era. Largely the same as Kansas State, but I think it's much easier to get talent, like we were just talking about, and much easier to get recruits out to Tempe than it is to get recruits out to Kansas City or wherever Kansas State is located.
Manhattan. Trust me, it is very easy to get folks out.
I don't think they're in Manhattan, but
the Little Apple time. You know.
But that was actually not
Kansas City. Yeah, no, trust me, Kansas City or even Lawrence, Kansas would be a better sell than Manhattan. It's out there, man.
I will say though, you're making $300K a year in NIL in Manhattan, Kansas. Goes a lot farther than $2 million a year in NIL in Tempe.
Yeah, I mean, you're living it up on Aggieville and everything, but keep in mind this is a place. I remember when I visited for OUK State, they had advertisements for Wednesday nights. They're like, Wednesday night, we're having 50-cent well nights. Just so that's you could live like a king if you're getting $300,000 to live in Manhattan, Kansas. Yeah.
It's a much better ROI, and people actually know who you are if you go out in town. If Cam Scadaboo went out in Old Town, which I'm sure he's done plenty of times, people would give him their drink order if he walked up to them at the bar. Versus, if you're a Lockett family in Manhattan, Kansas, you were treated like
royalty.
I don't know, probably the Saudi royal family is treated in Saudi Arabia. We're way late in the pod.
Yeah, that's true. We're coming up on 90 minutes. But there we go. That's our Big 12 preview. Guys, great show as always. Super fun to run down this very interesting conference. And excited to follow it through our picks on the weekend spread. Which is, look, it's coming up. We have our SEC preview next Wednesday. And then the week after that, it's week 0, which we'll obviously be talking about a massive Big 12 game, Farmageddon in Ireland, between Kansas State and Iowa State, a thing that I'm very happy exists. So we're all coming up on it. And look, if you enjoyed the show, make sure to like it, subscribe if you haven't already, and let us know. Let us know what you disagree with us here. Like if there's something you really don't like, and let us know in the comments. We'd love to talk to you or love to hear from you. And we'd be down to, chat in the comments for sure. But as we gear up towards college football season, very, very excited for just another run of the weekend spread, another run of the Schooner Pod. And yeah, so Blake, Ty, any final words before we head out?
I wish I could pick Colorado for number 1, but I just think with teams like that, you got to pick on what's the funniest possible outcome. And the funniest possible outcome is somehow 0 wins. So,
Jesus. Blake?
I'm all good. I got all my stuff out.
Yeah, fair enough. It's been an hour. It's been 90 minutes. All right. Well, until next week, we'll see you next time. And have a great one, everybody.